How do you know if it's a good investment? There's one simple way one simple thing you can use to compare to any investment, any business, anything that comes to you as far as, hey, is this a good resource of my money? Is this a good investment for me to go in? And that's the S&P 500 index fund. The S&P 500 index fund has returned about 11% over the past 100 years. Why do you use this to compare? I use this to compare because you can put your money in, you never have to worry about any maintenance, and depending on which version you get, you have very, very small, like negligible fees or no fees. So really, when you're dealing about withdrawal, you're just really dealing with capital gains tax after a year, 15%. Before a year, 30%. For retirement, it's different tax rules for that. I say this because people compare the wrong thing to investing. People compare the wrong thing to a business opportunity. What are they typically comparing it to? They're comparing it to their job, how they earn money. And while that's a good measure, that's not a fair measure to determine is this the best use of my time and resources. Because I have money going into S&P 500 and I'm not doing any work. That money is just growing, not being charged anything. And yet I get 10, well, even this year is 10% up to the date right now. A couple years ago, it was 20%. COVID was 30%. The other down times, yes. But overall, it's average about 11% return. So if I see an annuity, well, I know annuity is 5%. Typical average return. Second thing about an annuity is if I withdraw, I'm going to have a $20,000 penalty. Well, I don't necessarily have that with the S&P 500 index fund. So that's not a good investment choice. When you want to compare things, you need to compare apples to apples. If I'm comparing an investment, I need to compare it to something that is actually a good investment. You may not know what a good investment is. That's why I'm doing it in this video. This is a good investment. The S&P 500 index fund. It's the method and metric that runs the economy. It's the method and metric by all accounts of any economic person will say, hey, this is a tried and true investment. And this is something that gives a great return. So when you look at the work, when you look at the time invested in it, and then you look comparatively to something someone else is trying to offer you, where should you best put your money? These are the things that you have to learn, because how do you know if it's a good investment if you're not comparing it to what a good investment is? Same thing when you buy a car. A lot of people want to compare, well, I'm going to get an SUV, but you're comparing that to a Hyundai Sonata or a car. Well, you can't necessarily compare an SUV to a car. It's not apples to apples. At that point, you have to do what's a value equation. Am I getting more for my money because of this car? So is this car, this truck, able to get a good price? And that price just so happens to be at the same price as the car that I was looking at? That means you can get more car for the same money. And potentially, if it's at the same price, maybe you have some equity in that truck. That's a good purchase. If vehicle mechanically checks out, has good history, all those different things, all those other boxes check. But you, on the surface, cannot compare the price of a truck to a price of a car. That's not apples to apples. What's a good value on the car? What's a good car? Those are the things you value. Those are the things you equate. Then you look at, okay, can I buy a car or can I get a luxury car? If I get a luxury car at the same price that I was going to get a standard car, that could be the same piece. I can get more for my money, but I also will have a higher maintenance expense. I also will have other things. There are other things you have to do to equation. The whole point of this is you have to learn how to evaluate and make good decisions. And the biggest principle in trying to make a good decision, if you're trying to choose a partner, if you're trying to choose the best a job, role, make a good selection there, house, all that, you have to go out and find out, okay, if I'm buying a house, what is a good house and good house price? Okay, cool. How does this compare to what I'm looking at? What is a good job and a good job pay rate? Great for my skills. Great, I have that. How does this compare? Add in all the features. Partner. What for me would be a good partner and what am I looking for? How does the partner I'm dating compare? The reason why you're not able to make a good decision is because you didn't look at comparing it to what you know is tried and true and this is right. Not what you felt, not what you believe, but hey, facts, data, validation, this is correct.